Wow, and here we are again.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Happy Friday, everyone.
Friday.
Or I should say, happy Friday, y'all. Okay. How's the weather down there?
Hey, I've been
Lovely?
swimming. I'm up here at the 40, almost the 44 degrees north part, and that lake on the weekend was cold because I had to put a water line. I'm at the cottage, the remote base, and we've gotten away from the big city of Toronto just because it's nice and quiet up here. And I had to pull a water line in and wade in. It was pretty frosty. Um,
Mhm.
Today at lunchtime, I had some help when we put the dock in, and it was actually the water temperature was 72 degrees.
Oh, hey, that's warm.
Hey,
Kindness.
Stu and Ken,
Hey, Ken,
I know Stu.
Whiskey 8. Alpha, Sierra Alpha. That call sign sounds familiar. I mean, at this point, every single call sign sounds familiar. I'm like flooded with call signs.
They
Yeah.
start to sound familiar, and then we know what I'll get in a contest, a phone contest, and people say, "Hey, love my radio. You're 5 minutes."
Really? Yeah, you get that?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm more like like a digital guy. I'm more into FT8 now. I love phone, don't get me wrong. But every time that I now see all the call signs, it's like, oh, I think I know that call sign. Oh, let me see, and I go and search for it. Oh, yeah, maybe sounds familiar. David
David, you
Peterson.
must be up and running. You've had your radio 24 hours, right? You're all set to go.
Me? You're talking to
No,
me?
David here. Kilo Kilo 4 Golf Alpha Foxtrot just received his 6400
Oh,
yesterday.
nice.
Here, I'll push him out, and you can see what he was saying.
Oh, thank you. Nice. Well, you'll have the entire weekend to play around with it. Michigan, that's good. So you were complaining about my birdies down here, right?
Oh, and we've also got DX from Denmark.
Where?
Oscar Zulu 1 Lima Charlie Golf.
There you go.
Well, we sit here and just sort of wait for people to join. I was giving JP a hard time about all the birdies on his screen, as you can see behind him on his 42-inch television that he's got
43, 43.
plugged into a 66. Shameless plug for the radio, of course. But it's what we've learned is we've always had the birdies. We can just see them, and
Yeah.
nothing new.
Yeah, I try to unplug everything on my house. I'm full of chokes now. Thank you so much for
Getting
sending
better
me that.
though.
Yeah. Everyone that needs information about chokes, send me an email, sales@flexradio.com as Sierra Alpha Lima Echo Sierra at Flex Radio. I'll send you, me or Michael will send you the proper materials, right? The proper numbers for the jokes. Yeah,
Today's guest. Oh, carry on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I think I was going to say that it's not that you just can plug any choke. I mean, every specific material is designed for a specific frequency, so you need to pay attention to those details.
But I think, David, was it you that posted in the Facebook community today about the tablet you're using with some very inexpensive tablet?
I read that.
Somebody did. Hey, I'm just mentioned today's guest because Andy's sitting here grayed out in my screen, and we did do a bit of a scramble today, and our previous guest couldn't make it, but that's okay. No big deal. We'll get him on another day. We're actually going to talk about the 5000 and 3000 1500 series and repairs and stuff. So that'll be really interesting when we get Toby back on. And Andy is going to join us. Let me bring him in, and he can sit here and listen and add his 2 cents. And so Andy's a friend of mine. I've known him forever. He's been a mentor in some areas of ham radio. He's from Toronto. And after we get through our preamble here, Andy asked him to jump in at the last minute and dragged him off a corporate conference call, which I'm sure you'd rather be here. And talk about what he's doing at the Mississauga Amateur Radio Club, and they're just new into a whole integration. So, and David, by the way, said his tablet was $50. So you go.
Wow.
You can go find that in the chat in the community, or actually Facebook community on Facebook Enthusiasts. So anyways, we're going to talk about some club stuff. We'll maybe touch on a little bit of field day and what people might do in the changes in the rules. I'm not going to talk about the changes in the rules because you've probably already read them, but they are Class D stations to now make contact with Class D stations, and I think they're going to accumulate the club scores as scattered. So that you guys can go read more about that. I've done zero homework on that. David, to answer your question really quick, yeah, if you short that pin out on the back of the RCA, meaning you make it a closed connection, the radio will automatically turn on. And if you open the short, it'll turn off. And it's a perfect thing for a web relay. What else we got? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm JP, and I've been, we've talked to a lot of people this week. And I actually, Andy, are very familiar with a Canadian dealer called Radio World, which is sort of right between where we both live, right? It's about halfway.
That's it.
I was on the phone with one of their managers, Jack's also a good friend of mine, yesterday, and he phoned me about something totally different. And they have said that they have never been so, it's been a long time since they've been this busy in ham radio sales.
Really? Wow.
Really. People have decided that while this is going on, and I'm sure it's nothing surprising for anybody on this group, that they've just gone, you know what, maybe I will get back on the air, this or that. It's time to get rid of the 101ZD or the, and maybe get on 60 meters or whatever. And this is the calls we're taking. And Jack said exactly the same thing. They're just can't keep inventory. I know we deal closely with a couple of U.S. dealers, like Main Trading Company, for trade-ins and stuff, and they're saying the same thing. So, JP, what have you heard this week from customers you've been talking to? And wow, look at all the signals behind you now. What'd you do?
Oh, I decreased the scale. I mean, before they were like, yeah. I play around with a waterfall on the spectrum analyzer all the time, but it's me. Okay, I don't recommend that. Okay, I want it to look exactly the way I want it. I even play with the colors. It's like, we all come in different shapes and colors, and we all have our own things to deal with.
You're moving, right?
I'm moving, yeah, and I'm looking for a new QTH with no HOAs, please. I live in Austin, Texas, so I'm looking around here. And I was imagining my new shack, how it would be and everything. So at the beginning, I was thinking, like, well, I'm going to pick a room in the house that is going to be convenient for me to bring all the coaxes from my all monoband antennas that I'm going to have in the backyard. I want to have monoband antennas. That's me again. So I was thinking in a way that I was avoiding the fact that now we have it's very easy for us to do remote, to remote our radio. So I was thinking,
even in the house remoting.
Exactly. I wasn't thinking outside the box. I was restraining myself to a sector or a place or a room in the house to have my radio, my amplifier, all the coaxes and everything. And I even thought, okay, let's build a shed in the backyard. I saw those ones. They were pretty cool. I'm going to put an AC unit on it, and then I'm going to put some big speakers. Wait, why? Why?
So stuff near where there's 240 volts, right?
Exactly. And then I need to think about the 220 or 240. And then I said, wait, let's do this. So the way that I'm going to do it now, and I think people should be aware of this because nobody advised me. Even you, Mike, you should have told me. That's
okay, hang on. I'm going to interrupt you. I can't read minds. Ask my wife. Andy, how are you at that? Does it work yet?
Yeah, looking forward to the weekend, Mike and JP. Just kind of glancing off to my left here, we've got some big heavy rain coming in, Mike. So make sure you get the doors and windows closed. I'm sure it'll be there in an hour.
Well, let's just finish. JP finishes his story on his room.
Bottom line, I'm gonna pick the
cave, right?
Yeah. But bottom line, I'm gonna pick the most comfortable room in the house to be my shack. I'm gonna get 3 or 4 of these ones. Very nice display with my computer. Very nice, comfortable chair. Radio. Very nice headphones from Radio Sport. Yeah, of course. And that's about it. I'm gonna have all my radios in a very convenient place for them, not for me. And then I'm just gonna operate for hours without interruptions.
Well, and that's where here I'm actually my remote station, which if you saw my Wednesday broadcast, was at my cottage and from the boathouse. Boathouse is that way about 150, well, about 200 feet, and my network friends are gonna drag are gonna yell at me, but I have a cheap, expensive Cat 5 cable running from the boathouse to here. It's buried this far below the surface. I did it in 2007 to say I'm just going to get through the last of the summer, and it's still fine. Now I'm going to bury some fiber just because I can, but I really did it in about an hour. It shouldn't still be working. It's probably into a few retries now and then. It's probably not the best, but I tend to also do it, say, how cheap can I get and will it still work at times? You'll notice, and you know what I first tried from there was a Wi-Fi link. And like I said on Wednesday, Wi-Fi is evil as much as we really want to use it for everything like our phones and stuff, but it's just not designed in today's world. And Andy, this is a bit of your background, right? Your company, he works for, well, I won't say who you work for, but in data communications, that RF, high-speed RF communication we're on shared channels is subject to latency, and that's the killer for us on HF. So, yeah.
Subject to latency and certainly subject to change on a regular basis.
Yeah, and sometimes they even tell you about it.
Or not.
Or not. So we'll move forward because we're about 12 minutes in, and Andy, usually we sit down and get a few minutes to talk with people. I called Andy and or WhatsApped him at last minute, saying, I need a guest. You're it. And we had talked about doing this, but we thought we'd be another couple of weeks out. So back about pre-Christmas, was it? It was middle of fall. I gave him access to one of our remote radios to play with. Andy lives in a condo apartment.
Yeah.
And so he's got nothing. If you open there and looked outside, you'd probably see you're on the east side, downtown Toronto, CN Tower.
That's right.
And what floor are you on?
Real high up in the 3rd floor, Mike.
Oh, that's a serious issue. But he's also part of a Mississauga Amateur Radio Club, and they're very fortunate. They have access to a huge, as clubs go, building with a full station, and so you went through this, saw how the integration, how well it works now, but what you can get to, and so what was the first thing you started to like? What was your first couple of weeks like? I remember you almost worked DXCC from an HF6V and a 6500 or something, right? Where you were working hard on it.
The DXCC is done, Mike, and just waiting for it to be processed. Thank you.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's interesting because, as Mike mentioned, we've known each other for quite some time, and I was active as a teenager. And yes, I did complete DXCC, but really what I've done is I've started it all over again. And I was able to accomplish that, as Mike mentioned, with a vertical, and thanks to Mike's generosity, access to his remote station. So I think that was Mike, probably the epiphany moment. You can do a lot of stuff remotely. I had been someone who'd been very much someone who'd had the FT101, the FT102, the 870, big knobs, displays and meters, and wires that you could see out the window. So not being able to have that is a bit of a discomfort at first, Mike. And Mike,
you've done park operating, right? You've got an 818.
Yeah, I've got an 818, and a little backstory there. I mean, when we moved to the condo here a few years ago after the kids had flown the nest, there was a part of me that was kind of loathing the fact that I'd left behind some antenna space and room for a rig. So I picked up an 818, set up, operated in local parks, took a wire, and the bug was there, but somewhat unfulfilled.
Okay, so tell us a bit about MIS VA3 MIS. Sorry, now you guys are. I lost your audio.
Is the audio there?
Okay. No, I can hear you.
Oh, maybe it's just me. And you guys are on 160 through to 1.2 gig or higher?
Right now we're on 160 through 432. We are working on a 1296 station.
Okay.
So the backstory here, V3MIS, Mississauga Amateur Radio Club. For those of you that might not be familiar with the geography, Mississauga is another very large Canadian city. It's just to the west of the city of Toronto. It's in fact probably about 5 miles from where I live here in Toronto. Club's been active for quite some time. I think 45 years, and I joined it last year when, as I mentioned, the bug returned for me. Through the generosity of a local business owner who is also a ham, the club has access to, as Mike mentioned, a great station. Full facilities within the building for kitchen and washrooms. Importantly, the ability to erect antennas outside. So we've got a couple of towers, TH6, 3-element 40-meter Yagi. We're set up for 432 and 144. Club had been quite active in contesting and active in field days and so forth. But what we started to see was that time had taken its toll on some of the equipment and operating capabilities. I mean, there's still some great pieces of gear at the station, FT2000s, very capable radios for casual operation, DXing, contesting, but we needed to make the next step. And I think my experience that Mike had offered back at Christmas said, you know what, we've got the opportunity to look at this maybe a little bit differently. We've got a club where, like me, there are some hams who are now going to move into high rises or condos, or JP, in your situation, maybe an HOA that says, I'm not going to get that antenna up there that I want to, or I'm not going to have space for the shack that I once had. So you need to consider that as part of the station's capabilities. So good contesting, remote access, and
high-speed internet.
High-speed internet.
Low latency.
With low latency.
Yeah.
And we happen to have all those things. So we had the good fortune of course of being able to experience firsthand through Mike what this might look like for us. Mike was also kind enough to give us some presentations, and in short order we had alignment from the club to go ahead. We purchased a 6600, as Mike mentioned. Our local dealer here, Radio World, is the vendor for Flex Radio here in Toronto, and in short order we were on the air. It was a pretty quick and simple setup for us. Perfect.
Now, have any of your members taken up now actually remote access? I know you do, and you and I haven't talked about this. I'm just asking blind, and what their I don't know what's your next step, or besides yourself and maybe Peter and a bunch of other people, who else is actually connected remotely?
We've got about half a dozen users that are using Smart SDR to access a 6600.
That's actually amazing.
Wow. I was a little bit surprised as well, Mike, to be fair. We've got some individuals who have some good technology background and experienced amateurs who hopped on there right away. And what we had been doing previously for the FT2000s the TS2000s we use on the VHF UHF station is using Chrome Remote Desktop and Skype. So I said, guys, if you want to continue like that, it's easy enough for us to do that to the 6600. But I want you to try something else, and take 10 minutes, read this, install the software, and go do it. And as essentially how Mike pushed me into it as well. Is like, don't read the manual, just go do what you know.
I see the video that says, my friend said I could use their radio video, which is on their YouTube channel, right? Yeah. Carry on. Sorry.
That's it. And Mike, between Mike and I over the years, Mike would say, don't call me with any questions, just go do it. And if you get stuck RTFM, these guys were very quick to get on the air and noticed, there's some great things that I can do really quickly here that I'm not able to do with my own station. The integration, for example, WSJTX, N1MM, and cat control. I can't do that at home, but look, lo and behold, here I'm remotely operating the station. I'm capable of doing that right here. And I think that was for...
You were on FT8 that night, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on FT8 that night, and that was something I was pretty curious about. So I needed to see that.
Oh, that was your first glance to see FT8? You never operated FT8 before?
Oh, I've operated FT8 on the 818, but in terms of firing up the 6600, the first thing I went and did was fired up FT8.
Yeah, and we mentioned before that with Diversity RX, there's kind of some sort of a hack for FT8 where you can listen with two different antennas, and that really enhances the experience, In
I tried that. You were saying you had, so I'll have to.
I did try it. Yeah, it was wonderful.
I think one of the cool things we tried out, we're big VHF UHF club as well, and 6 meters has been particularly kind to us over the past 2 or 3 months, and we're all at home now. Being able to operate MSK in the morning on 6 meters and simultaneously watch what's happening on FT8 was pretty cool, and we had opening
meteor scatter for those that don't know.
Yeah, meteor scatter on 6 meters is spectacular 2 or 3 times a year, and certainly we happened to run across that opportunity recently, and then within a couple of weeks here, we're starting to see transatlantic sporadic E openings on 6 meters. So hey, we can put 2 slices up. We can be looking at both of these modes at the same time. And hey, you know what? We can put a 3rd slice up and take a look at what's happening at the lower end of the band for CW and sideband. And
what I've been doing is sitting on about 50.125, and I can see the CW and the sideband stuff, which is sort of less than it's been in the past. Then I spin up another slice using Slice Master and WSJT on 50.260. So that's my meteor scatter frequency. Then I spin up another slice on 50.313 for the North American FT8 stuff. And then if I feel like it, I'll spin up a 3rd slice on my 6600 for on 50.323 for the intercontinental FT8 stuff. So where they, they really want us to move this European or outside North America to somewhere else, up on 50.320.
Thank you for clarifying that to me. I didn't know those.
Yeah, it's
the difference. It was tricky. When I saw it, I was like, I'll find out what is that.
Yeah, but you can't do that on any other radio. And if you did it like on say I had a 2 or 3 OEM type radios, unless I'm really good at RF plumbing, I got to have separate antennas for all of them.
Yeah.
And so you would do it before. You might have your, you'd have, you're going to use my 10 meter antenna while I'm using the 6 for real stuff, and sort of try to monitor. You get the idea. And it's, and in case people are not aware, coming in that antenna port, that single antenna connector at the back, we actually look at the entire HF spectrum. We look at over, believe it or not, it's almost 250 meg. We produce 0 to 60 meg. Was it 54 or 60? I think it's 60. that we on most of the radios that we can see right away, and that produces and it's about 4
Nope. You froze.
gigabits of data a second. You know, and if you think, doesn't sound like a big number, but wait a minute, 100 megabit. Most of us 100 megabit LAN at home, and some of us have 1 gigabit, which we love. So it's even 4 times that. So we're not quite there with remote operating from a club station where everybody has their own login. So you have a common login, a username, password, right, Andy, for those that connect. And do you have a schedule sheet or something that sort of keeps them from stepping on top of each other?
Well, that's a good question. It is one that we've contemplated. So at the moment, this is kind of managed through a chat group. Hey, I'm going to be on there. But at the same point in time, those people who have been actively using the station also understand that it's not impossible to have 2 operators on there at the same time. On the 6600, we've enabled full duplex mode. I happen to have a Maestro here at the moment. I'm able to access.
Where'd you get that from?
I don't recall, because then I'd have to recall where I was returning it to. Thank you, Mike.
As long as I stay at the cottage, you can keep the Maestro, which you picked up at my back door one day.
Contactless pickup.
Yeah.
But what it does allow me to do, for example, is it allows me to access the station through the Maestro, and at the same point in time, either Carl or Peter or Lolly can hop on there as well. One of it's going to be busy on 6 meters. Somebody else could be busy on 20, and we understand that only one person's going to be accessing the transmitter at the same time. But guess what? We're still full duplex.
Yeah. How do you like the Maestro?
The Maestro is an incredible piece of equipment. I had grown accustomed to operating the radio without having hardware in front of me. I've got a fairly decent sized monitor. I've got a pretty decent microphone, pretty decent set of headphones.
Radio Sport?
Pretty decent. But I'm just
actually, the funny story there is I gave him a set of headphones because for another project I bought a whole bunch of these cost things, and I left my radio sports at home, so I threw them in the bag for him. That I don't think the shrink wrap was even off them, right?
No, they were brand new. I was surprised.
They were like $20 headphones, so I.
Yeah, but I didn't see the Bengali key in there. Sorry.
Sorry, that's at home.
Certainly, yeah. Let's talk about the Maestro for a second. Never seen one until I picked it up at the back. And first off, I was rather impressed with its heft. It is small.
Actually, you thought the bag was heavy because I left you some parts for a 10 gig project, right?
Yeah, we should mention that too. There were a bunch of bits and pieces for a 10 gig project, and that's going to be weighing down the bag. And I look inside, and what's in there, a small piece of plumbing and a small coaxial switch about an inch in diameter. That wasn't the weight. It was the Maestro. So a substantial piece of hardware. The display is incredible. So what I had grown accustomed to seeing on the monitor with the PC was readily there, although a little smaller form factor on the Maestro. The functionality, the user interface is awesome too. So what I'm looking for in terms of those things that I'd like to get at quickly, adjust quickly, they're right there. And maybe I'm not so adept at accessing those things through the user interface on the PC. And if I'm a contester or I'm a DXer trying to work split, I really like how the Maestro presents itself. The audio interface is really nice. No hassle to plug the keyer into the back, and it was again short order, very intuitive in terms of getting it connected to the 6600 mic. Really no different than setting up a smart SDR on the PC.
And you don't need your reading glasses.
No, you don't.
And that's I'm joking, but that's a serious thing. And I keep picking on the 756 Pro that had this little knob right on the bottom if you want to adjust the mic gain. And anyway, one of the things that you've probably figured out with split, but again, I didn't tell you anything, was you're sitting there running one slice on 20 meters on CW, and the guy calls up. on the Maestro, you just hit the RX button and bring up spins up a new slice, and it's already same mode, everything, and it's up 1 kilohertz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely
That's good to know.
precisely how I was able to find VP8 PJ a couple months back.
Yeah.
That's oh yeah, I remember.
And Danny Quist just asked a question about how to get the full 4 gig stream for radio. Danny, I have no clue. But if you ask in our community, actually that's sort of Andy's world. If you ask in the community, we get a lot of guys that work in the commercial area of cellular communications. They'll probably give you a clue, or they might not say you're out of trouble. And I actually am looking at this big Andy. I'm looking north here, and it's really black. So he's Andy's west of me, so he gets my weather first if it's coming northeast. So I'm gonna have to probably pull the pegs on the antennas and stuff.
That was my earlier comment. I mean, we're on the broad side of it now. There's no rain here, but when it rolled up here, Mike, it was rather ominous looking.
Just looking at lightning maps. So very good, Andy. Well, that's great. Anything else you want to add that you think you need to share as somebody maybe looking at this in the future, or is it a club? And by the way, I'm available for club talks. We can do them. You know, it's funny. Last summer, we can't do like a Skype talk. Nobody knows online. You got to fly out here. And of course, now it's normal. And sometimes we've had some small clubs. So we did a couple in Toronto where we combined three groups together and had a great time. And so I've got about a 45-minute to an hour presentation. So you can email me at, actually just email info@flexradio.com. It comes to JP and I anyway. So, so yeah, that's the idea on that. But sorry, Andy, anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, if you are a club member and you're involved in the maintenance of your station or the operation of your station, you probably already realize that you've got some members of the group that are particularly interested in some facet of the hobby. And that might be, hey, I really enjoy DXing and I like coming to the club station and working DX. I enjoy getting together with a gang and contesting over the weekend and going at it in a serious way. I'm new, I'm casual to it, and I want to learn, and I don't want to feel intimidated or that I'm going to damage something. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to operate remotely because, hey, there is an aging population, and Mike and I, well, I'll speak for myself and not you, Mike, may be representative of that. And remote operation is something that's important.
And mentoring. Yeah. And mentoring as well, right? For new hams?
Absolutely mentoring. And a good point, because Mississauga Club has been very, very active in terms of bringing new amateurs on board in the community. So great way to expose them and walk them through that. This is something that allows you to do all of that. And in terms of looking forward, I know Peter VA3CW is a great VHF, UHF microwave advocate. And we're thrilled with what we can do with 6 meters. What's next? 222 transverter, 1296 transverter. We can see some of the power that the Flex is going to offer us there.
You saw that Q5 Signals came out with their.
Oh, Mike!
These guys are great. They do a great product. It's this part was part of the Demi group, and
describe it a little bit for people that they don't know what we're talking about.
If you want to operate above 6 meters, so you want 2 meters, 220, 440, 1.2 gig, you'd have to buy 5 transverters. And today, and I have actually owned 2 of them, but Q5 Signals just released this week their broadband 25 watt transverter, except 10 watts on 1296, that goes all those bands. It's reasonably plug and play right into the Flex radio. And having done a couple of VHF contests, what I learned was, because I had this waterfall, I had VHF spectrum visibility. And what sort of surprised me is a lot of times you get a rover out that'll have a bunch of queues set up, and you may not be aware of that, or you weren't part of the communication on whether it's ON4KST or Ping Jockey or VHF chat on Slack. All of a sudden I look, and this is like the January contest, went, oh, I wonder if it's over here. You know, there's a whole bunch of queues going on. I was able to jump in on that. So the contest band visibility for, you know, if you're not an HF operator, it's getting darker. Can you tell? But for VHF or UHF contests, and so this is $2,000 US. I think was his price, $19.99. They're hand built, so they come out pretty slowly. But geez, for like Andy's station, I can see a lot more hardware going out the wind. You know, they might be up for sale, but a much more integrated remote station, right?
Yeah, and you know what? You bring up a good point, Mike. There's certainly a lot of interest in microwave contesting in our area, but we know that that's happening. I think throughout the hobby, and you see on Facebook groups and social media, lots of folks that have invested significantly in rover hardware. And to your point, where are those guys? And you can look at the spectrum there, and you know, oh, there's Peter. I know that Peter generally hangs out at 227, but guess what? There's Russell at 238 as well. I was never able to do that before. Now I can see that.
Yeah,
Lots
we're
of fun.
actually building a 10 gig transverter together. There's a bunch of us in Toronto doing it. And just I digress as a ham. This is the stuff that I get excited with, JP. These guys are doing 500 to 600 or 1,400 kilometers on 10 gig frequencies with 1 or 2 watts. Is that what they were doing the other day? And
Yeah,
the rain, you know, blew me away.
Peter worked rain scatter yesterday. N8 LRG, I believe, from his from Peter's FNO3 location, rover. Yeah, rain scatter. It's like 600 kilometers, 360 miles. Now that for Peter, that's not a record, but that is pretty significant for rain scatter. And they do snow scatter.
Connecticut?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm saying, from a ham and a hobby perspective, this hobby never ceases to surprise me. I mean, I've only been licensed since 1974, and I still try new things. So you know, it's really cool. Hey, we're about out of time. Actually, we're beyond out of time, and I'm worried I might lose my internet. I'm looking at the lake. There's all white caps, which means there's now heavy wind coming. I've got cloud. I'm also a storm chaser. I should go look and see if there's a shelf cloud. And I actually sort of want to go look. But Andy, thank you so much for your time and jumping in at short notice.
Hey, my pleasure, Mike. And JP, nice to chat with you as well. Nice. It was an enjoyable 40 minutes, guys.
Yeah, next time we got to do a QSO.
Absolutely. From your new QTH.
Yeah.
And Ryan, by the way, had a question. Ryan, we've probably got a video for that in our YouTube channel. I have a 6000, but not a Maestro. How is FT8 done? You want to go look for the video. Hey, Andy, how do you do FT8 with a 6000?
How do you do FT8 with a 6000? Smart SDR, CAT, DAX,
and Slice Master.
You know what? Get yourself going with the Smart Suite, and then go take a look at Slice Master. You'll be amazed.
Perfect. All right, everybody. Thanks. Have a great weekend. If you're doing the contest, best of luck. Get your CW up to speed. And
let me mention something about that we have this week, which is for the beautiful, amazing, always wanted 1500 watt solid state power amplifier.
JP, did that say barely legal?
Oh yes, sir.
Actually, you haven't seen it yet. It's the new ad.
Oh,
it's on the QST.
Oh, okay. It's not one of those top shelf magazines.
No, yeah, we're having some open box inventory, so feel free to check it out on our website. They're running at a discounted price. So if you want to run 1500 watt solid state HF plus 6 meters, like I am doing with this little baby, check it out on the website.
Gotta love red racks.
Until supplies last.
Yeah, you know? There's only a few, but somebody have taken advantage of them. Okay, everybody, have a great weekend.
7-3, guys.
7-3, enjoy it and be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.